Vectors are organisms that carry and transmit diseases. In this video, we'll be focusing on mosquitoes and ticks. Ah, a mosquito! Those things are nasty. Here are two of the most common species contributing to the spread of infectious disease globally. The yellow fever and Asian tiger mosquitoes together are responsible for such infectious diseases as malaria, Zika virus, dengue, chikungunya, and West Nile virus. Ooh, a countdown. I wonder what's next. Ah, a tick. Those things are ugly too. The two most common types of tick vectors are the castor tick and the deer tick, responsible for a number of infectious diseases, the most notable of which being Lyme disease. Looking at these vectors in the United States alone over the past couple decades reveals some alarming trends. The Aedes albopictus mosquito has increased its land coverage by right around 40%, implicating 30 million Americans to contract the diseases that these mosquitoes can harbor. Furthermore, incidences of Lyme disease have increased threefold since 1991. These trends align well with the changes that we observe with climate change and implicate potential for a public health crisis. And let's be clear, infectious disease caused by mosquitoes and ticks are not unique to one continent, country, or region. They're a global problem, and they're only being made worse by climate change. At this point, you're probably wondering how climate change, something so widespread and significant, can play a role in vector populations and the diseases they harbor. But it has to do with the warming climate, because as the climate warms, so too does the minimum temperature often observed in winter. And as this winter temperature increases, it becomes more tolerable for vectors, allowing them an ability to overwinter in more regions, sustaining their populations. Additionally, as the climate warms, the area surrounding where these disease vectors are typically found becomes more tolerable. This, in turn, facilitates a range expansion, not only contributing to disease vector proliferation, but also to population growth. So climate plays an important role in vector populations. Our planet is warming, and as it does, vector populations, such as mosquitoes and ticks, are expanding to new areas, bringing with them new diseases. But it's climate we're talking about, which means this is a global problem. And so as we think about solutions to this problem, we have to think about it in the context of every human that lives on Earth, not just those that live in our communities or our country. The first option to addressing these increases in vector populations would be to address the result, the increase in vectors. And this might look like improving water infrastructure, which would limit the number of breeding grounds for these vectors. It might also look like increasing the number of care facilities in an area so that infections, when they occur, can be managed properly and treated thoroughly. It might also include vector control to directly reduce these populations. Or it might include public education so that citizens of an area understand how to live with these organisms, tips and tricks for preventing bites, and what to do to recognize when they need care. All right, time to celebrate. We found the perfect set of solutions to our problem, right? Well, not quite. It's important to remember that this is a global issue, and as outbreaks occur, not all public health departments are going to have the same access to resources as other departments in different parts of the globe. And this brings us to our second option, addressing the cause of these vector increases, climate change. And while there are a number of ways in which we can monitor and address our contributions to climate change, a lot of these ideas are going to revolve on reducing our carbon footprint, using more careful and deliberate urban planning to make our cities more sustainable, and increasing the number of green spaces. It's important that we address the cause of these vector population increases. High-income countries contribute significantly greater to climate change, and climate change is the cause of a lot of issues. Yet, pursuing a course of action like vector management, which was option 1, would put a greater financial burden on low-income countries because not all public health departments have the same access to resources. So wouldn't it make more sense to pursue the option that holds higher income countries, the larger contributor, accountable for their actions? The fact of the matter is mosquito and tick populations are increasing because of climate change. And as they expand into new areas, they're bringing with them a whole host of infectious diseases, which, in combination, could equate to a public health crisis. So why not take care of our planet? It's time we start addressing climate change, and in turn, addressing a lot of the issues that are caused by it, including increases in vector populations. We may just end up avoiding a public health crisis.